I'm Tyler Jones, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. Well, we're here in the RV doing the Element Podcast today, and I'm just glad to have such a nice, cozy place to do this in. And I've got my partner, KC, here with me. What's going on, man?
Dude, not a lot. Living the camper life, getting ready to make some supper. Pretty excited about that.
What are you cooking?
Make use of our harvest, man. Elk, sloppy joes. How long has it been since you had a sloppy joe, Tyler?
I couldn't tell you. Probably 10 years or so.
Well, man, don't worry. They're still delicious. We're going to enjoy some of that in a little bit. So, just living life. Kind of excited to kick off the 2017 hunting season. 2016 came to a close just a couple days ago. It was bittersweet, but looking forward to things ahead.
Yep, me too, man. So on that note, this episode is going to be about a recap of our season, and then we're going to go into talking about what we're doing now, which at this moment is podcasting, and then we're going to go into what 2017 has in store for us. It's kind of a lot to cover. We're going to try to keep it somewhat brief for the amount of content that could possibly be talked about during all that. So we will start by saying, first of all, I'd like to just say that when I had this idea for this podcast, like it may have been a year. I don't remember exactly the date, but I know in the spring I had this idea to do some podcasting, and it's obviously changed multiple times and formulated, as you know, because we've talked about it quite a bit. But this whenever I reached out to a company known as Sitka Gear Company, they totally had faith in the fact that some guy is trying to do a lot of different things via film in the outdoor industry, and my band obviously has a little exposure for them there or whatever, but we're working together with that and the Element podcast here, and they kind of had faith in me that hey, maybe you could do a little bit to get some exposure for our product, and we'll give you some gear or whatever, essentially. So I'm pretty happy to be working with Sitka Gear. It's a very loose relationship right now, so I don't want to make anybody I don't want to lead anybody into some kind of thought that maybe I'm doing it and I've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear here. So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to Sitka Gear basically through all that. So let's go straight into just discussing what happened this year in our hunting seasons, and I know that mine was the first one to start this year. Well, I wasn't actually hunting, but I was on a hunting trip, and we left. I can't remember. Okay, so we left July 31st. I believe I'm almost 100% sure that's the day we left. It just all kind of got in a blur after that. But I think it was July 31st when we left, and I went on a sheep hunt, a stone sheep hunt in northern British Columbia, as you know. So I went to film and photograph, basically. And we flew first to Salt Lake City, and from Salt Lake City we flew to Calgary, Alberta, and we were supposed to get on a jet there that was going to take us to Fort St. John, which is where kind of final destination was. Obviously, we'd take a truck from there with the outfitter, but in Calgary, Alberta, we had a big holdup, and they took forever checking the gun, and we ended up getting to the basically it was a little plane, so it was on the tarmac, but we were there at the desk, to walk out to the plane, and we could see the plane there. And as we come up to the desk, two ladies walk back in the door at the exact same time and go, "Oh, we're sorry, you guys just missed the cutoff." And we're like, we're looking at the plane. Heath goes, "There's my gun right there, sitting on the tarmac. I'm not going to, that's an expensive gun that I really don't want to leave with, I don't want it to leave without me or vice versa." So There's not even a pilot sitting in the seat or anything. There's several people still on the tarmac waiting to get on and go up the stairs into the little, prop jet or whatever. And they will not let us out there. I mean, we are 30 yards from the plane. And so anyway, we stayed a night then. We went on this sheep hunt, got to see some incredible things from several grizzlies. We saw 5 grizzlies in the first 6 days, which was incredible. I've never seen a grizzly. We were 30 yards from a big 6.5-foot black bear at one point on a sheep stalk, and 50 yards from a 3.5-year-old stone sheep. Never seen a stone sheep that close for sure, and had only seen them a few days before from 4 miles away. So just so many neat experiences. I got to eat huckleberries and Saskatoon berries and raspberries, and all of them are wild, which like something about eating just like wild organic food from the mountains. It's like, I don't know, it probably really doesn't do that much immediately for you, but immediately my spirit thinks that it's like floating,
We can get into hippie stuff real quick, like it's something about like just picking it off the ground and just putting it in your mouth and eating it and just like not worrying about washing or anything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt.
Tell us about like, what was the terrain like where you're at in BC and stuff? I've never been there. A lot of people haven't.
Where we were at was on the 7th largest lake in the world, and I don't know if I should even name it or not. I don't know, I don't know if I want to like disclose that information. I don't think that he would care because it's an outfitter. He's trying to sell hunts. He's not trying to keep secrets. And as a non-resident, you can't go there anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was a big lake. That's a hydro lake, and basically we kind of hunted from the lake essentially up on the backside of this mountain range. And the lake, there's like coal, like shale pieces or whatever all over the beaches on the lake and stuff. It's like actual coal, apparently. They have like coal mines, I guess, or had coal mines in the area for a long time. So that was neat. The terrain was not too bad. I mean, it was pretty steep when we finally got up from the beach and decided to make a stalk on one of the last days we were there. And it was pretty steep, but it wasn't like high. I mean, I think they max out around in that area around 6,500 feet. And we're sitting at, I think 2,500 on the lake there. So it was pretty vertical from that point, but not so high that like a flatlander, like somebody that we are that are so close to the coast, can't go out there and do it if you're in decent shape and take breaks. The good thing was I was like 20 years younger than both of them at least, so that helped. But we didn't end up getting a sheep. We didn't hunt the full 10-day hunt that we were expecting to. And so 7 days into it, we decided, well, it's really hot, as most people's season went this year. And there's a lot of foliage on the trees, lots of grass. It's tall still because it's beginning of August, And we were doing that because his son had his senior year of football in high school this year. So we were trying to get in before the season. So he goes, hey, let's do this, and they get this outfitter gets one sheep a year, one sheep tag a year, basically. It actually works out in a 5-year period as less than one a year, I think. But he said, let's do this. Since you're paying me so much, we will have you guys come back in October and leaves will be down. He's like, I feel great about our chances. I mean, this guy's killed like 70 or 80 sheep, I believe, in his lifetime. This guy has.
Killed himself or been on the hunts?
No, he's never killed one.
Oh, really?
Himself.
Dang.
But he's been, he's guided sheep hunters to like 80 sheep.
That's cool.
Like that. So yeah, it was really, really neat. He's just as hard as they come, man.
Yeah.
But pretty nice guy and everything. And anyway, he invited us back, and a week before we were going back in October, they had a huge snowstorm. Couldn't get into sheep camp with horses or anything. So we didn't go back this year, and we're going to go back next year in October. That's basically, I mean, I could go on and on about the hunt. I learned so much, but we don't want to stay around too long on that non-successful hunt. So let's go into talking about.
Hey, all hunts are successes, man.
They are.
You learned a lot.
Right. I mean, and the good thing is the guy I was with, like, he's got money, and he obviously, if he's going on a stone sheep hunt, he's got money, So, but like, just gonna let the guy do what he knows how to do. He's not going to tell them how to do it, and he like eats up the experience. He would rather just have the stories to tell than a full wall of sheep. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was really nice to have that because I've guided a few hunters here and there, and they can be little babies sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
it's not fun. So
I did a little bit of stint myself on that guiding stuff, and it's just sometimes you're like, man. Anyways, yeah, let's not dive off into that too far.
And, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to like if you make $75,000 a year and you decide to go on a $1,500 hunt, like that's a pretty good cut of your check. But if you make $500,000 or $750,000 and you go on $7,000 hunt, it's not so much a percentage or a matter of like. The more money you make, like the more assets you have and the more well off and the more comfortable you are. And it's like maybe these guys sometimes, I know obviously there's cases, but like maybe some of the guys like that are spending like on a deer hunt somewhere in Texas or whatever, they're spending like a good chunk of what they made that year or whatever. Like I can see how they can get frustrated pretty quickly or whatever. But it's not fun whenever people, and I would never want to be a guide really. I've done a few just to kind of make some money here and there or pay for a lease or whatever, but it's not my favorort thing to do. So.
Yeah. I like the entertaining aspect of it. Like, everything except the in the field, so I got it a little bit at like a sort of renowned lodge in South Central Texas. And, man, the part, like, getting together at night around campfires, everybody's got their bellies full and sitting and telling stories. Man, it's amazing what you can gather when you get a group of hunters from so many different walks of life. You got, like, poor boy like me who, I'm a public land hunter. Like, I've never I paid for just a few deer leases in my life, and that was before they got crazy expensive, And then you get guys who have money to go and go on these cool trips, and you can all sit and share stories and stuff, and it's actually really valuable. It's super cool. Like the whole lodge aspect is a lot of fun like that.
Dude, we've talked, but I've hunted a lot in my life. Like I've been very blessed to have a dad that brought me up in it, and have gone on lots of hunts, and we haven't done any big hunts. We haven't gone out west and done all that stuff really. But like we've been deer hunting every year, we've had good leases, done lots of stuff, duck hunting, man, like crazy in high school. And my stories do not compare to Heath's. Like, we would sit on the beach glassing for 12 hours a day, and he would just have some crazy story after crazy story about, and like, I'm not one of them guys that like can sit around the camp too much and like have some guy tell a story about a booner he shot, and then me go, yeah, dude, I shot this doe this year, like. So like when he's telling this story about this, guy that told him a story about a grizzly bear attacking him or whatever, like I don't have anything to say. I literally I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's cool to sit around camp and talk to all different types, man. And I mean, even the babies can have good stories sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's and me and you've talked like the value of good storytelling is worth way more than the size of the animal you killed. Like if you have the story, man, it's you can lay it out for people, paint the picture, man. They'll love it. It doesn't matter if it's a 6-point that you killed that was a year and a half old. You know what I mean? Like people don't care.
Or a buck named Steve.
That's it, dude. Buck named Steve. There's a few stories of those out there.
Just a few.
Yeah. All right. So I know you want to move on, but like, we're kind of doing this to kind of inform people and maybe expand some horizons. What's it take for a Texas boy to go hunt a stone sheep?
Well, to actually hunt, it takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
To do what I did, you got to learn cameras really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spent last several years. I told you this too, and I'll probably say I told you this a lot because we talk a lot in between these podcasts. But when I was 13, all I wanted for Christmas was a Sony camcorder. Like, had the little handy cam, and that's what I wanted, man, and I got it. And I used it, man. We made movies all in the lodge over there, dude. We made Bond movies like crazy. Had all our dads like old sport coats and stuff, walked around in them and just pretending like we're James Bond, And so like since then, I've been learning cameras and really have gotten into it a little more seriously the last probably 5 years.
Yeah.
We did some outdoor filming at first, and I didn't have any money. I was in college and stuff, and so I didn't really get to learn the camera like I wanted. And once I finally got a camera, probably 3 years ago, and a little bit before that, even I got to mess with some and just have learned a lot. Had a good group of guys around me that we could all kind of share information and stuff, and so doing that allowed me to basically I try to do like I try to post cool pictures or little videos I make on my Facebook and stuff like that, and that's a way for me to not so much like if I'm not doing it to brag, you know, I don't care if people think that I'm cool because I made a 30-second teaser that's really cool or whatever, or shot a really cool picture, and I am proud of those pictures and stuff like that, you know. But like I do it because if I keep posting one of them pictures like every week or so, people will start to realize in your network that like, oh, this guy, he takes some pretty cool pictures, you know, whatever. He does videos or whatever, and you finally starting to get that out amongst your friends and family and network and stuff, and then it may take several years, but people start to recognize that, and then somebody that's close to you goes on a hunt. Say it could be a stone sheep hunt, or it could be kind of a canned elk hunt for $15,000 or whatever. It doesn't matter, but like you get to go on it, and if you show people, hey, I can do this, then you can market yourself, and I haven't really done that. Or, you may get lucky like me and have somebody want to take you on an incredible experience. And I mean, he offered to pay half my guide fee, which there was a guide fee there because obviously they have to pay more money, and if they do horses, they got to have an extra horse, and all this, they have to have extra food for you and stuff. So you have to pay money to pay for yourself to go on that trip, and it's way discounted. So he offered to pay half of that, all my airfare, any hotels, which we had a hotel going there and coming back because because of plane airport complications. But anyway, he ended up paying the whole thing. Dude. Yeah. I mean, it was like, and I bought a bunch of gear for the trip to make sure that I did a good job for him. And the story's still not closed. But I got some really cool stuff, really cool pictures, and we're posting them all, not all of them, but we're posting several of them on Instagram and stuff. So as you know, and so if you're listening to this, go check us out on Instagram. I think it's, what is it? Just
the Element Podcast.
The Element Podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, at the Element Podcast. So
yeah,
and we haven't kept up with the Facebook that well right now, just because.
Dude, that's so 2011.
It is. Yeah, it's so old. Insta's where it's at. But anyway, okay. So enough of this, man. I mean, we'll definitely dive into that subject later on, how to maybe get on a hunt like that.
Yeah.
Other than making $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about the elk hunt. So
okay,
you had really good news, and we had a podcast. We've been doing a few podcasts, and we just wanted to kind of test the waters and see what we needed to do to make it better and stuff. So we may end up doing like a full storyline of this one. I think we probably will soon. But we just don't have it right now. So.
Yeah, yeah, it's been recorded. We just need to work on it a little bit. I'm going to give you a condensed version now. So. Tyler's heard this 100 times, and I'll tell it 100 more because it's just like one of those, hopefully not once in a lifetime, but once so far in my lifetime experiences. I'll start out and tell you that my granddad in 1976 went to western Colorado on a mule deer hunt, him and 10 guys he knew from Texas. They grabbed a road map and went to western Colorado because someone told them there were deer up there that weighed 300 pounds. So that's what they did. They were going up there to meat hunt and shoot deer with a lot of points, because in 76 it wasn't about inches, it was about points. I shot a 14 point, so that's what they're up there doing. And since then, my family has evolved and changed and realized that, hey, not only are there 300 and 400 pound deer, there's 650 pound elk that are way cooler and make way much more noise and scream like velociraptors in September, like those are up there too. So pretty much we evolved into elk hunters, and my family's been going to western Colorado biannually at least. Try to do it every year for, since 76, I guess. And I went twice growing up. My dad pulled me out of school, which stay in school, kids, except whenever your dad wants to take you hunting, and by all means, take advantage of that. And I feel like I learned so much more that, 10 days in Colorado than I would have all of third grade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no
and my
kidding.
grades did not suffer because I went to Colorado,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyways, long story short, 2013 was my first trip as a tag holder. Over the counter archery season on public land in Colorado. And I went up there, hadn't shot my bow in probably 3 years. Didn't think that my compound was up to the task, but I've been shooting the recurve a lot for bow fishing and just playing around in the yard, hunting rabbits and stuff to eat. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm just, super green and just a rookie. I'm like, well, I can do it with a recurve, no big deal. Well, I carry recurve to Colorado and end up missing an elk at 11 yards. 6x6. Yeah, so that lit the fire. So fast forward, skip 2014. I had a career change 2014. Didn't get to go that September. 2015 went, didn't have a great opportunity, but saw some elk. 2016 rolls around, okay? This is the year of the Wapiti for KC, all right? So we go to Colorado, September. I've done way more map study this year than I ever had before. Had like 7 different general areas of this unit we're going to hunt that I wanted to hit, okay? Show up there, camp the first night, get everything set up. Wake up the next morning, go hunt. I glass a canyon. Don't really see much. Have one elk bugle way down off the canyon. I answered him. Never got anything back. Start walking out. End up getting hunted by a couple other hunters. So that means that your bugles are sounding pretty good when dudes are after you. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then met up with my parents. My mom and dad both go up there. And my mom was a hunter this year. My dad was guide. And I'm out kind of on my own. We decided to join forces and head to my area number 2 that I wanted to hit, which was about a mile and a quarter off the road. Got to go through 2 canyons to get there. Pretty tough terrain, especially
This is day 2, right?
This is day 1
Day
of the
one?
hunt.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
day
yeah.
2 in Colorado, day 1 of the hunt.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so just around lunch, we eat lunch, head out. So we decided we're going to do some aggressive calling. Haven't heard a lot of bugles. I really practiced up on my bugling stuff before we went, and I never had been great, and then really, really hardcore practiced before we went and felt pretty confident about my abilities. First setup we do, we're calling to the hillside of dark timber. We call in an elk that I never saw, but he was there. We heard him run in, heard him do a couple, like, frustration moans or whatever. And so, like, blood's pumping, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can talk to the animals, So we cross another hill, get in this aspen thicket, and hear a contact bugle from a bull up on top of the next ridge. And my dad looks at me. It's about 4:30, which is probably almost 2 hours till sunset. Still plenty of time in the day. And he's like, you want to go? And I look at him and I'm like, okay, is that a question? Like, what are we here for? Like, it is time. So we head straight toward the contact bugle. I answer first, just another contact bugle. Just pretty much, like, if you don't know much about elk bugling, just do what you hear. That's the simple way of doing it. You can kind of create your own magic, but if you hear a contact bugle, give them a contact bugle, and just kind of progress that way. So I give him a contact bugle. We head up the hill about 800 yards, set up. We're in a, like, large aspen quake, so big trees with not a lot of undergrowth, and we're looking right up at a hill of dark timber, which usually means bedding for elk, and we're like in the feeding area, you could say. And we kind of spread out. Me and my dad start bugling back and forth to each other and kind of do a little scenario, and end up getting an elk to answer, and we're working him. He comes in at 60 yards. Doesn't really give us a great shot. We're trying to move around and get a good shot. My mom's 20 yards away, can't see him because she's behind these fir trees or spruce trees rather. And it's just kind of like, okay, it's happening. And like, we made it happen. We're just like super excited that we got an elk to come in. Well, then all of a sudden behind me, I hear just a big burly, big bugle. I can't do it from my mouth, but y'all don't want me to hit the bugle for real. It might blow the doors off. But I turn around. And here he comes, man. It's big, mature 6x6 just coming in on a rope, not walking, not running, just kind of loping in. And so it's like go time. You got to get stuff done. I turn around, see him, automatically say, okay, I'm killing that elk. You know, I'm not even worried about this little raghorn we've got in. You know, so I turn around, run down the hill 40 yards, and just draw my bow. The elk's moving through the aspens. I can see 3 gaps before he's going to get to my wind, and he's going to smell wind, he's going to take off. So this first one's coming up too fast. I mentally say, okay, not that one. The second one, when he gets there, I'm going to go ahead and put my pin there. When he gets there, I'm releasing, shoot. He comes into that gap, I shoot, hit him a lot further back than what I was anticipating. And so, like, there's that little moment of, like, oh, my gosh, I just shot an elk. Oh, my gosh, it wasn't a good shot. Like, this is, you know, like, I've dreamed about this moment my whole life, and I probably just screwed it up, you know. So so he turns off and runs off. It was what looked like a vital shot. I mean, he had blood pouring, even though it wasn't, like, you know, in what you'd call the basket. He takes off. I lose sight of him about 50 yards and hear a crash. I'm like, oh my gosh, did this happen? You know, like, so I call my parents over. They don't really know what happened. I tell them about it. We go down. It's a great blood trail. We get, you know, it's just laid out for us. It's all there. And it's like, man, is this really happening? You know, did I really put a vital shot on this elk? Did I really just kill my first elk at, you know, age 27 at that point in time? Which for me was a pretty big deal. You know, third hunt ever. You know, usually it takes guys 10 years to ever even get a chance.
Right.
Not bragging on my own abilities, more just on my how blessed I am.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
and we follow this blood trail up, and lo and behold, there he is on the ground, and it was just a hit your knees moment. You know, it wasn't the jump around in excitement and act like clowns at a rodeo kind of thing, and it wasn't like shed a tear. It was just I don't know. I just felt a lot smaller when I had an elk on the ground. As a human, you know, it's like, wow, I just took the life of this huge, magnificent beast, and now what do we do? You know, it's like you have this moment like, oh, and then you're like, oh my gosh, we have to get all this meat out of here. So, long story short, we quarter everything up that night, get out of the woods about 2 a.m., go home, sleep till 7, restlessly, worrying about bears eating meat and stuff that we have hanging in the trees. And for the next 2.5 days, pack meat out of that hole, which is about 2.25 miles worth of a walk. Over, I think we did 800 feet of elevation, which doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you're at between, you know, 9,400 and 9,900, that's a lot for a Texas boy.
Yeah.
I every night in September, before I went to Colorado, I slept at 6 feet of elevation, sea level. Okay, I could see the ocean from my house. Okay, so you talk about a change. But
right.
yeah, so that was September for me. And then the rest of the time, pretty much lived it up, did some fly fishing, caught some awesome fish, caught
some natives,
some natives, dude. The Colorado River cutthroat, got that one off the list.
Yeah.
And that was September for me. It was a great time. I mean, that was like a life highlight, man. That's it was dream, like, it kind of leaves you speechless. Like, I'm like, now it's like the pressure's here, because like I gotta like beat the statistic, you know. So now statistically, it should be another 10 years before I kill an elk. You know, at least. So, you know, prep starts now. It's on, and we've been doing a little bit of it. So
yeah, for sure. We I guess first of all, that story is just awesome, and the story, you got the Cliff Notes for sure.
I can get long-winded. That's a Cliff Notes, if you can imagine.
There's some details in there. Casey has a good memory, man. So, but that's a really awesome story, and it's something that like I dream to do, and hope next year, you know, financially that I'll be able to do that, and I think that I will. You know.
I almost had him talked into it this year. Like, he was that close to coming.
Well, the problem was I was going sheep hunting.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay, so here's X amount for this camera. Here's X amount for this lens, this solar charger, this.
Mm-hmm.
Started adding that up. And I'm like, man, that's expensive. And then here's my guide fee for half my guide fee. That's a pretty good chunk right there. And I started looking at that, and I'm like, man. And so we get back middle of August or whatever, and we get back, and we get to his house, and I'm like, well, appreciate it, man. I got all my stuff, you know, in the truck, and it's like, here you go. I go to like shake his hand and hand him, you know, slide him the money, you know, kind of discreetly, and he's like, no, man. He just goes. He said something like, we'll just call it a good experience or something. Like I'm like, hey, you're dang right. It was a good experience.
Yeah, and when you're young and poor like us, like you really want to be like the guy, like, no man, for real, take it. But then at the same time, in your mind, you're like, oh, thank you so much for.
And dude, he knows that. He knows
Yeah.
it. I mean, he's been there too, probably. But
yeah,
it's just like it's one of those moments like you're talking about that I almost cried.
Mm-hmm.
I almost cried. Like I was like, dude, you just literally saved like my butt, dude.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I was in a financial bind, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like a trip of a lifetime. My wife was like, you got to go, And so I was like, thank you so much. And for him, it ain't that much money,
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's enough that like I still am very gracious.
Oh, yeah.
That or grateful that he was gracious enough to do that. So, but anyway, I guess going from August and then to September, we work into October, and there wasn't a whole lot going on for you other than wedding plans, right?
No.
Oh wait, yeah, you did go
I went to
back.
Colorado again.
Yeah, that's right.
It was so y'all were supposed to go back October 8th, right? And got blizzard out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look at me remembering dates. How about that,
Dude,
man?
I told y'all, good memory.
But so my granddad, the guy who went in 1976, first trip to Colorado, the whole reason I hunt pretty much is this guy. Ornery old fart, okay? Like, just straight up, oh, man, we are so different and so the same at the same time. It's ridiculous. But he wants to go on his last hoorah elk hunt, has never shot a bull elk. He's been going, off and on since 76. He shot a cow in 94 and brought home the meat, and we ate elk for forever, and it was so good, and he's just had the fire ever since then. He wants to kill a bull, and then I killed one in September. He's like, I gotta go in October. Yeah. Okay, he's not a bow hunter. He was 77 at the time. Doesn't have the upper body strength to pull a bow back, can't go in September, doesn't have his wheels. He's also a cancer survivor and was cleared cancer free in May of 2016, made it to Colorado October 2016. Okay, so he didn't get up there and roll. He can only walk 200 or 300 yards and set up, but dude, the guy just got over cancer and went, and he's 77 years old. I just got, so much respect for the toughness that he shows, We go up to Colorado, just me and him, and camp out on the mountains, go to one place covered up with deer hunters, which is weird because, deers draw only in Colorado. So we don't remember seeing that many, but there was a ton of people there. We must have been in the deer unit. Mm-hmm. And covered up with deer hunters. Didn't see any. We all saw a cow there. No bulls. No talking, of course. It's October. Not really going to be bugling that much. So we go back to, like, the perennial unit, like where he went the first time he went to Colorado. We picked up camp and went there. And it's where my dad shot his bull with a rifle. And we go and hunt. And just have the time of our lives, really, on the mountain. And didn't ever see a elk again, but I shot a couple rabbits. We ate them in camp. We called in.
They look good, by the way.
There's nothing like good old fried Rocky Mountain rabbit with some white gravy.
I know this sounds bad, but I have never had a rabbit.
Never, ever?
No.
Dude, we got to fix that right now.
I know. I was looking at that dish. He sent me a picture. First of all, KC's a pretty good cook. And he sent me that picture of that, and I was like, oh, hey, that looks like the best fried chicken,
It was. Rabbit will actually remind you of frog legs. You ever eaten frog legs?
I have.
Yeah,
several times,
it's a lot like that. Kind of the mix. Like if you were to say between a chicken thigh and frog legs, like it's that kind of really
chewy,
moist,
a little bit.
chewy.
Yep.
Yeah, not for everybody, but man, if you like it, you like it.
Well, I guarantee you I'd like it.
Yeah, you would like it. And those up there, man, are so good. I don't know if it's like I eat rabbit here, and it's good, but it's got just a little bit of like. You ever eat catfish? Got a little muddy taste to it. That's how I feel like rabbit is around here every once in a while. But up there, man, they're just like so clean, and they're a little bit different type of cottontail. So there's a ton.
They smaller?
No, they're bigger.
Bigger?
They got bigger feet and just a tad bit bigger, but smaller ears.
Yeah, that's why I thought they were smaller, because I saw them ears.
Yeah, the ears are different. But I think there's 17 different subspecies of cottontail, or they're not even actually sure how many there are. But that's the Rocky Mountain cottontail there. It looks like, when you first see them, you're like, is that snowshoe hair? But it's not. It's just rabbit.
Cool.
But, anyway, so living off the land, called in 6 coyotes at once and almost got one with my recurve. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was an experience I'll never forget. When you got, and those coyotes up there, like those are half wolves, like those are not just the little old puppy dogs running around Texas.
Yeah.
And 6 of those running in, just blazing like fire coming in at you. It was pretty exhilarating. Mm-hmm. And we got Pop's last elk hunt. Well, not last. He's still here, still kicking. He said
Yeah.
it was his last two raw, but I bet come next October.
Year, I guarantee you, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. He's going to be wanting to go.
He's fired up, man.
yeah, Tyler's got to know Pop in the last year or so, and he's figured him out pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's my October. Did you make it to Kansas in October?
I did.
Yeah.
No, did I?
No,
I didn't. I didn't make it to Kansas until November this year.
Okay. Well, let's go with that.
So, yeah, I mean, early November, I believe, was the first time I went to Kansas this year. My memory is not nearly as good as yours, so I'm going to be stumbling around through all this stuff.
I can help you with what you did if you want me to.
Hey, it works. It works. As long as it's on here and it's documented. So, around November 8th, somewhere in there, I think, is when we went. And it was like prime rut time, but it was warm, pretty warm. There was a couple of cold days that we were there, and it had been warm all year. And, man, we had EHD up there in 2011, and I guess maybe 2012 a little bit. But I think we definitely had the drought in 2011 that was, like, super hard. And, I mean, there wasn't even, like, any grass on our place hardly at all. I mean, even the big – what they grazed cattle on, we didn't have any cattle on the place because they didn't have anything to eat, They had to sell everything off. So,
man.
But we did shoot 2 giants in 2011, and then EHD broke out as well. And we had I've got phone footage of a buck, probably 140 class 10 point, that's just sitting there. He walked in circles for over 24 hours. And I want to say circles, I'm talking about like a few yards, and like we would pass by him it was on the road, but he was right next to our place, and he would just, when we would pass by, he would do this little thing. You can't see what I'm doing, but he would do like this, and like basically like you knew he was blind.
Yeah.
Like he was not seeing us. He was just hearing us, and then he would like the sound would move to the left, and he would move his head a little bit more, and then move to the left and move it again. And one of the guys on the lease actually like went up and touched him. And
no way.
Yeah, he was just out of his mind, had EHD. It was really sad. We had a doe that came through camp several times and would just be yards from us and would not even look at us. Not look at us. And just wondering, it's a really sad disease if you've never seen it. But anyway, killed off a ton of deer there, which we didn't have a super high density out there where we're hunting anyway. And so we've had a hard time kind of managing the place because the price is high on the lease, and we have to have enough people to make it affordable. So people are going to want to shoot deer if they pay for it, And I ended up not shooting a buck this year for the first year up there because we just had a hard time recovering, man. And I've always been the guy that's like shooting the big old 8-point or 7-point or whatever, It's just an 8 or 9 year old, 10-year-old deer, So I don't feel too bad about, I wouldn't feel too bad about shooting a trophy in the next couple of years, like a nice deer. Not to use trophy if people think that that's a bad word or whatever, but I'm usually shooting the old nasty sucker and that's the one I like shooting, for sure. But anyway, I didn't shoot one this year. I had a chance. I actually I drew on a deer 3 times in one night in November. It was really dark, and this buck that we have, we call S3 because he had an S-shaped G3. Anyway, we saw him last year. He showed up again this year, bigger, and just big old frame. Like probably, I think last year he was 5 or 6, and this year he's 6 or 7, and just big old deer, man. Huge frame, big bases, gnarly stuff going on around him. Double split brow tine on one side, and just a big 8, And anyway, he came in. I drew on him the first time, and he was blended in with all the sagebrush, and just could not pick him out through my peep sight. And so he goes down into a light spot of grass, and I grunt stop him again. And when I drew back, I got my bow. I literally pulled the string like 3 inches max, and just my index finger just barely touched the trigger. And my arrow, it doinked out so lightly that I had to look down to make sure it was actually off of my rest. and it went down into the cedar tree right in front of me. God. And so I ripped one out of my quiver real quick and put it back in there, and he got going, and I drew again, and I just did not feel good. When I grunted him again, he was quartered super hard, and I couldn't take it. I just couldn't take that shot, man. It was just really 30 yards, quartered really heavy.
Away?
Away. And
yeah.
it was just going to be a really tough shot in that light and everything. So I didn't take it. But had a really fun year, man. I mean, I really like to eat a tag. This is probably the first year that I would actually feel pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just maybe maturing as a hunter a little bit. Not to say like I'm any better than anybody else out there necessarily. But anyway, I feel really good about it because I think there's going to be a few bucks on the lease that are going to hopefully show up next year as 4 and 5 year olds and be pretty good deer. You know? So we've got a long-term lease agreement that we're coming towards the end on, and we're not sure what's going to happen, but it was unbelievable the first couple of years, and it's since EHD it's been pretty tough to feel like it's worth the money and time, because it's a long ways. 8 hours, no way to make it less than 8 hours pretty much, unless you're literally going 90 plus the whole time, So that's basically my November, I guess. We had one deer shot on the place in November that was a 161 and 5 or 6/8. Pretty old deer. I think he's at least 5 for sure. Had biggest head on any whitetail I've ever seen. I had him in the mid 140s because of his head size on trail camera like a week before when he showed up. And I didn't think I was going to shoot him if I'd have seen him. But anyway, we had another guy go down there and hunt and shoot him with a rifle, and he was 161. So
yeah, Tyler sent me the pictures of this deer, like right after, like the night they recovered him. And I was like, dude, there's no way. This deer's like 140.
What it looks like.
And that other guy, the guy shot that white deer the same weekend, right?
Yeah, I passed that one.
Yeah, you passed that
November.
deer, and I would have dude, you put the two in separate pictures side by side,
right?
And I would have picked that big white deer every time. But what, he's 20 inches smaller, right? Or close, 15?
Easy 20 inches.
Yeah, easy 20 inches.
Yep.
It's crazy that deer you're talking about, just how huge his head was.
Big body too, man. Big body, big head, and we have like a couple different strains of deer up there. It's like almost like we're between southern and like midwestern type deer. So most of our deer they're all definitely bigger than like Texas deer, but like most of the deer are this like really pretty brown, what you would picture in farm country Iowa or Illinois deer. Looking, real pretty, long hair, brown, white features, white streaks and white tail and everything, really white and long hair. And then we have like these deer that show up sometimes because it's pretty open, that I don't know if it's like they're a different like type or what, or if it's because they travel so much in certain deer, being a different deer. Like this deer may have a different personality that he wants to roam 10 miles every year, whatever. But for some reason, every once in a while we come across a deer that we way overjudge because he's just like little body. I mean, and this one was on a separate place, but there's another track we have. It's almost 1,300 acres of just wide open. I mean, and we had a deer over there that I thought was in the 170s in 2012, and it got shot and it was 165. And I came up on it. I was like, man, deer is smaller body than I thought, And then we had the deer this year that I thought was 140s, and he was 160. Once I can look at him, trail camera is hard, but when I can look at them on the hoof, I can usually get them real close. And that wide deer that we were talking about, that was 20 inches or so less. Yeah. When I saw him and passed him, and I almost shot him. But I started adding him up and looking at him, and he was only 4, and I passed him, and I had him pretty close once I saw him on the hoof.
So what was the motivation that passed? Was it the age or the size of the horse?
It was a combination.
Yeah.
It definitely is a combination. It was more about age and the fact that I knew we had rifle hunters coming, and I mean they're going to shoot deer, dude. I mean that's just the way it is. Like, and I'm going to be the guy that's going to pass them and try to make the place better and try to get the age class of the bucks back up to what it was in that 4 or 5 year old range. And I thought if I don't do it, maybe nobody does it this year, you know.
Man.
And if I shoot that deer, that's one less for the rifle hunters to shoot, and they're going to shoot a 3-year-old 10-point that has a lot of potential to be a really big, gnarly deer, you know, that he is not fully mature at this point. So that was the main. I mean, I told you, I literally was clipped on that deer as he was coming in. I had footage of him. I was self-filming, and he did it. He did a scrape right in the middle of the trail and was throwing this like sandy riverbed, rocky type soil. You could hear it hitting the leaves behind him and stuff. He was like 25 yards just doing a scrape, and I was tied on him, man. I mean, I had good footage and everything.
Man.
And I was like, can't let the footage influence your decision, you know.
Yeah. You got to be the hunter you are.
Right.
Not the hunter on film.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, me and Tyler have much different, I guess, hunting raisings. I don't really know how to put it. Yeah, exactly. Backgrounds. Like, to me, that deer's a giant, you know, because I've hunted East Texas deer my whole life. And the problem here has always been, if it's brown as down, you just shoot whatever first legal buck you see, you know. So to me, like a deer in the 130s is a big, big deer. And it is, you know, it's still a big deer.
It's big out there too.
And, you know, it's so cool to me to see how, like, y'all have your own set of parameters that you follow, and the deer just are weighted the same. You know what I mean? Like, to you, that 140 is like, man, you know, let's let him go, let him get a little older. And to me, if I see a 115 that's at 4, I'm like, yeah, let's let him go and let him get a little older. You know what I mean? But that's still kind of weighted the same. You know what I mean?
It's relative to your area.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so.
Yeah, and, you know, that's kind of the thing. Like, I like to compare, you know, experiences from different areas and then kind of see how they can be applicable to, you know, like where you're from or where you want to go hunt, you know, in a different situation. You know what I mean? And it's just cool to hear about, you know, some of your Kansas stuff and, you know, the way y'all hunt and stuff up there. It is, man. It's so cool. And it gets me the itch. Like, I want to go so bad. Like,
dude, I mean, we've talked about it. There's definitely big bucks that use that public land up there.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of tracks of that walk-in stuff that's worthless. Too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not probably even pheasants on it, you know? I mean, but so you just kind of got to weed through that stuff. But I mean, lease prices are way better than stuff here in Texas.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and bigger deer, you know, and not that it's all about big deer, but you know, same reason Pop went up there shoot big deer in Colorado. You get a lot of meat.
That's it. That's all. That's what it's. You know, we're all, you know, at the basis of it, providing sustenance for us and our families.
And I mean, I'll tell you this: you see my wall. I've shot several big, old, heavy deer bucks up there, and not one has. I'm talking. When I have the backstrap, it is unbelievable. Like, I'm like,
it's good stuff, huh?
Give me more of that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the people talk about old bucks are just tough and nasty, and man, I don't know. I mean, I know there's different diets of different deer and stuff like that, and throughout the country, but man, and there's not a whole lot of. I mean, it's not a whole lot of stuff to eat up there. There's not a whole bunch of ag where we hunt.
Yeah.
And man, those bucks are tasty. Dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
So
okay, but you said that's your November, but okay, let's back up. You never hunted in East Texas much, right?
No.
But you did a little bit in November, right?
Yeah.
Archery?
Well, I hunted. I forgot. I left out October.
Is that October?
Yeah, the doe.
Oh man, come on, yeah.
Your memory, bro.
Yeah. Okay, so let's back up to October for just a second. Tell us your doe experience.
I think it was like third week in October or something like that. I have a buddy here that he has a place that he's lived all his life, pretty much. You know, some acreage, and they've had some nice bucks on it. And they had a nice buck this year, and actually got killed by a car.
I saw that, man.
Right. I mean, it was like
detrimental.
135 class velvet buck, you know, and like gets hit by a car, and nobody gets the horns except for TPWD. You know, I was sad for him for sure. But anyway, so that was kind of their big buck that they didn't get to shoot this year, I think, off that place. But like they've got tons of does right in there, and our doe regs are pretty strict.
Yeah.
I would think for what I understand from other areas throughout
They've
the
loosened
state
up
and other states.
though. You know, like so.
Yeah, they've given us the extra Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we get Thanksgiving
4
does, which
days
we didn't used to
now.
get that at all. Like
Yeah.
in Texas, or I'm sorry, in our counties here in Northeast Texas, most of them have the same regs, but they're all divided by county. For forever, you could not shoot does with a rifle.
Right.
You had to be a bow hunter to harvest doe. It's just all
And
there
you
was to
got
it.
30 days, basically.
Yeah, you got 30 days.
You got October.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Which
Yeah, there's
is
not like bow tags.
Mosquito,
Yeah.
like you will get eaten up if you're
Yeah.
going to plan to shoot does.
Yeah.
You know,
And Texas hunters know, like, there's not like a bow tag and a rifle tag here like there is in most other states, it seems, you know, or a lot of them from what I read. You know, I never hunted them, but, you know,
Right.
you like go to Iowa or something, you draw a bow tag or you draw a muzzle tag or this and that. In Texas, you got those 30 days of bow hunting, which, it's like 15% of hunters in Texas, I think, are bow hunters, something like that. So you got the responsibility on herd maintenance is on 15% of the hunters for 30 days of the season.
Right.
You know, and that's just with a bow. So it has to be within 40 yards, essentially.
And you know, there's a lot we could definitely we probably should go into a different podcast
Yeah.
about all this. There's a lot of different factors that weigh into all this, but I think overall, Texas Parks and Wildlife's done a really good job of managing this area.
Yeah.
With they put in antler restrictions.
Yes, it's
and
gotten
stuff.
so much better in our lifetime. It's
Yeah.
so exciting.
I mean, it really is. Like when I first grew up around here, and I hunted here a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like if you saw that legal like unbranched antler 3-point, like you shot that
shot
sucker.
him. Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
he's
you know what I'm
down.
saying?
You
Like,
ate him.
I mean, you know, like, and now it's and you may still do that. I mean, but like now people are passing stuff, and these deer are getting a chance to get to 3 and 4 years old, and you're seeing
Mm-hmm.
these 120s and plus, and that's fun. You know, that's
Mm-hmm.
fun to see those deer, even if you don't shoot them. We saw some this year, you know.
Yeah,
and it
we
was
did.
fun, and so, but I ended up. I guess we kind of got off on a tangent there, but I did end up shooting a doe off my buddy's place, and smoked it, and I was just so thankful to do that because like the last thing I want to do is like chase a doe that I've wounded from my buddy's property to somebody else's property and be like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I'm on your property stomping
Yeah.
around. And these guys on the other side, they hunt quite a bit. You know, I think they actually might do some hunts there, like outfit stuff. But anyway, so I shot the doe, and she was 25 yards. Got it on film. It wasn't like the best footage in the world. It was kind of wide angle, but I didn't want to have to mess with it too much and then put a bad shot on her, you know. So anyway, I got it on film. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna put it together and probably put it on the Element YouTube channel at some point. So,
And you're pretty jacked about that, weren't you?
dude, I couldn't believe it because I hadn't hunted in East Texas in years, or in Texas, period, in probably like a decade. I mean, we've been hunting up in Kansas for a dozen years, probably.
Yeah.
And that was when we left Texas. That was kind of where we went: northern Oklahoma, and Kansas. And anyway, I was like on camera. I filmed myself, you know, after I shot, and I was like. That was pretty cool, man. I was kind of like goofy, you know, like it was a little doe, you know, like a probably not a yearling, but like a year and a half, you know, and
Tasty.
yeah, I guarantee you. And I've got it. I butchered it all up, you know, got some cool pictures and stuff for you know doe pictures or whatever, and some cool film, and then went to Kansas and had my November in Kansas, and I usually go back in December. And that's usually when I'm shooting my big deer in Kansas, is December. Just a late season guy. I usually try to be really patient and see what's on the place, make sure I inventory everything on trail cameras, and then I shoot the right buck. I don't want to shoot a 2-year-old 150 because we've had that happen before, you know. And so I didn't go back this year in December. After the rifle hunters came, I just didn't really have enough reason to go back. What we had seen had kind of been on the place all year, and we've got trail cameras soaking, so we'll probably see a couple new deer that come in. We always do, but we lost a deer that go pretty close to 160, big 10-point that was 8 years old. We have pictures back to 2011 of him, and we don't know where he went, and he's disappeared in November the last 2 years. So I think he probably made it. We don't have a lot of hunting pressure around us, but anyway, so that's I didn't have a whole lot of reason to go back up there as far as like what I was seeing on trail camera. I think everything else, you know, there's maybe one or two more good bucks that could be taken and be decent culls that are also old, you know, which is what I usually shoot.
Yeah.
But just start trying to weigh time and money, and looking forward to our 2017 season. I'm thinking time and money might be of essence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
Brownie pointed up now in December, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so December really consisted of more you and me here in East Texas.
Yeah.
And doing the public land stuff within a couple hours of home, you know, so that we don't spend too much money, and just doing our research and going out there and spending some time. So I guess that's a good segue for you to start talking about what happened in December.
Yeah.
Well, actually, late November is kind of when we started.
Yeah.
You got married.
Yeah, let's talk about late November. The most important part of my life is I got married November 19th. Love of my life.
Say that loud.
Yeah, love of my life. And the cool thing about it is the gal, she's super supportive of all my crazy ideas and the fact that I want to go hunt and, you know, just hang out with another dude in the woods a lot. You know, like, she gets it, so it's good.
Weird.
But so November 19th got married. The week before we got married, I decided to go scout this piece of public that's a little ways away from the house, and I was like, you know, me and Tyler have been sitting around formulating these ideas. You know, we bounce stuff off of each other. The rut in the Midwest is like consistent with diurnal patterns. I mean, it's always going to be first, second week of November, pretty much. You know, it's just the way it goes. Debatable with moon phases and stuff like that, depending on who you are and what you believe. But anyways, in Texas, just growing up here and hunting, I just cannot believe that it's just with the diurnal period, and it's always going to be then. But it has to have something to do with it, right? Because they're still whitetails.
Right.
So I decided to go out November 11th and see if there's bucks around. And sure enough, there's bucks running around. And I see, I get to a spot where I've got a good vantage point, and I see two bucks, and they both kind of go to the same general area, right at, you know, dusk. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the spot. You know, I'm going to go in there and hang a camera and see what we get, you know, see if they're using that area in daylight like I saw them today and how long it lasts. Well, go in there, hang a camera, go back, check the camera. We got a solid deer on camera. You know, not a giant, you know, he's an East Texas solid deer. So I'm like, hey, Tyler, let's go to the woods. So I got talked Tyler into going to the public land. I mean, you know, he's super scared. He's like, public land, are you serious?
Yeah, see, I've never done much public land. So my experience growing up is my dad loves to deer hunt. But he wants to have a place that he can have a little bit of control over, you know, what's shot and who's hunting, and he, you know, he likes that private land deal, and he's you know, we hunted feeders and stuff like that, and honestly, like, a lot of guys may listen to this and be like, oh, you know, feeders or whatever, but when it comes down to it, if you have a buck come in there at 20, 25 yards eating at the feeder and standing still, and you've been practicing, you're probably going to make a good shot on him, and he's probably going to go down really quick. It's going to be an ethical kill, you know, as opposed to shooting them as they're walking or anything else, you know, that's making hard shots. It's like, in my opinion, you know, a feeder is not where I really hunt that much anymore, but especially for, there's a lot of good purposes to a feeder, in my opinion, and we can go into that later on.
We're gonna have topics like that throughout the next year, sure.
But I mean, that's so my it's always been feeders, you know. And my dad's all about like time efficiency. Like, he does not like wasting time. When we go to Kansas, we stop once, maybe twice, like in 8 hours, you know, and you better, like, I literally dehydrate myself for the day before a Kansas trip, because I'm like, if I got to pee, my dad's going to make a huge deal about it, you know. Oh, my gosh, I'm riding with a woman here, you know. So anyway, so that's my dad's time efficiency. So he wants to go, when he goes out to spend time in the woods away from work and family and everything like that, like, he wants to see deer, and he wants them to come to his feeder. He wants to be able to shoot them if they're there, you know, and make it efficient. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But for me, this public thing is a new thing, and so this was a new experience.
Yeah,
so we can elaborate on.
So
that
let's get in. So November 16th, 17th, 3 days and 2 days before our wedding, I talked you into going to the stand. Not mine, Tyler's wedding. Mine and my wife's. I talked him to get on the stand with me. Tyler is he's a good guy. He really likes to video record stuff and get things on film, which is great whenever you like to hunt because he likes to be the camera guy, But, so
Not
he agrees to be.
like that.
Yeah, no, he's a pretty cool dude. But so we go and we see a few deer, nothing crazy. I get married the 19th, go on a honeymoon, come back.
Catch some stalker trout.
Yeah, caught some stalker trout in Broken Bow. Saw a giant while I was up there.
Yeah, I made it worth it, though.
Yeah, my gosh. I figured out a lot of stuff. Saw some rainbows spawning, they still call it spawning on a red. It's not a bed, it's a red when you're talking trout. It's different.
I don't know why that's
but whatever. And come back, had a great honeymoon. It was just good to get away with her. And come back to hunting. Honeymoon's over, right? It's time to get with it. So come back, go pull a card. Miss by far the most active week I've ever seen on public land ever. What I had 11 different bucks in daylight pictures over the course of November 17th through the 26th. 11 different bucks, 4 shooters, I guess, because of the heavy 8. So, okay, side note, I'm not a fan of naming deer. I will confess, it drives me insane when you heard us make a joke about Steve and Starbucks and starfish or whatever.
I never heard that one.
Oh well, some of our friends up in Iowa have some pretty crazy names for there, but it's all good, But I understand it now. It's a necessary evil for me because when I've never had more than like 1 or 2 deer on camera, you're like, oh, it's the 8-point. You know what I mean?
You got the heavy 8,
the
thin 8.
Yeah, the heavy 8.
There's another 8.
The medium 8. Yeah, the high 8, the low 8, Okay, so then you realize, okay, well, these names kind of do make sense. But anyway, started naming deer. We had 4 bucks on camera that are shooters.
And none of them were named Steve.
None of them were named Steve. Maybe next year. We'll see 2017 what that holds for us.
I'm down there.
There might be Steve out there. But anyway, so like all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's go time. We got to get in the stand a lot for December. And sounds great, right? Mm-hmm. Well, one of the struggles of public land, it's a love-hate relationship. I love it because it's tough. Ooh. I hate it for other reasons because it's closed down and it's just driving me insane. I'm sitting around. You can ask Tyler. I was just twiddling my thumbs, shooting my bow, and just listening to other podcasts. Pretty much, just going crazy.
They have closures for drawn hunts all throughout the season, and depending on where you're at. Yeah,
exactly. And that's what it was. It was for one of those draw hunts, which more power to them. That's the state's decisions, their land. They can do what they want to. It's not fun sitting here thinking about, okay, somebody's shooting the deer I saw, I can't go on there. It's not that you can't hunt; you cannot access the property.
Yeah, you can't go look at a trail camera.
No, you can't pull camera. Nothing. Right. It's pretty rough. But so what? That next week rolls around. Finally get back in the stand some. We have a little stint of like rainy weather, which I like to hunt in the rain, but I don't have the greatest rain gear, so it's kind of tough.
Camera doesn't like
the rain, no. But so we somehow get a awesome cold front, like an awesome Arctic blast. Which everybody knows which week I'm talking about. It got to like 25 was the high that day, I think, that we got in the stand, and we don't see a lot of movement at all or anything. And that's like December 20th or something like that, I think, right? 19th, maybe?
19th, I think, something like that. Yeah.
And we're sitting there, cold as just rocks, it's freezing. Winds out of the north at 15. We actually brought in stands to hang in a different location because we wanted a north wind set. Well, where we wanted to hang, someone else had already hung a stand in one of those struggles of public land. So we had to reevaluate and go back to a different spot.
We actually hunted a bad wind.
And
for what we thought.
What we thought was
it wasn't a bad wind once we got up there and started dropping little pieces of leaves and stuff.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah. And something we've heard a little bit about. You can hunt that wind that's just almost wrong, but it's right. And this wind would be wrong for a deer. Okay, so 2 days before, we saw another buck came in. We call him Licky. He can't keep his tongue in his mouth. Something's wrong with this dude. Something's up with this deer. We don't know.
Weird.
Like, I thought about shooting him, and then we're like, man, I don't know if I want to eat that meat.
No.
Like, I don't know if what happened to him. He kind of looks a little funny, look a little sick.
He's got a weird horn on one side.
Yeah.
And,
But he's getting around healthy. He's rubbing on trees and stuff. We got some cool footage of that.
Yeah.
But 2 days before, he came in from the opposite direction, and if he'd have came in that day from the same direction, he would have smelled us like that.
Yep.
But it didn't happen. We had sat there for what? We got there at like 2:45, didn't see anything till 4:30, and all of a sudden, and then the next 45 seconds, just the whole world blows up. Like it's the biggest deer I have ever been in bow range on public land.
Like the first time we see him, I don't know exactly when you saw him, but when the first time I saw him, he was like 45.
Yeah, I saw him at 60. I saw him a little before you did, so I said deer,
and I'm looking
you
behind
said
us.
Where? Yeah, he's looking the other way. You say where, and I say buck because I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm
like, can I move?
Yeah,
and he goes,
like,
yeah, you can move.
Yeah, you can move. And the deer's coming down the pipe. Like I've got one shooting lane, and the deer's walking straight to us on it. Okay. And I like within 10 seconds, I say deer, buck, shooter. Or it's actually probably like 3 seconds that all happens.
Quick.
And it's a deer I didn't really recognize from anything on camera. We looked back later, we did have him on camera, but it's real blurry.
Yeah.
Big. He's a. What? He's a
big
9. He's a true 9. Doesn't have a
G4
4 on the other side. Mm-hmm. Come in and he had a broke off brow. He's fighter, big burly sucker for East Texas. Like he looks, and it's 25, so he's puffed up. He looks real big.
Yeah.
And I get a perfect broadside at 40. Draw back. I have a mitten on my hand and can't pull the trigger on my release, and I'm freaking out. The deer is standing broadside 40, which, 40 is a long shot, but I'm a pretty confident hunter. I shoot 40 a lot. I kill my elk at 40. Not a big deal for me. I'm very confident at that distance. I would have taken the shot 10 times out of 10 with him standing still. Well, I'm at full draw, mitten on my hand. The deer's looking our direction, not really looking at us at all, but I don't want to let down, because he's coming right to us, and that's a lot of movement. Even whenever you stick it out up in the tree, it's still movement. So my best idea is to lean my head back, pull my mitten off with my mouth at full draw, which I accomplished unbelievably. Well, the deer gets to 31, and in that little short amount of time, he's fixing to walk out of my life. He's fixing to go.
He's kind of zigzagging, but our lane is like super narrow.
It's tight. Like we're gonna have to do a little something about that next year.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good because we got cover. But and it worked out cool because that trail's on our lane, and we didn't even know that when we set the stand up. Mm-hmm. And this deer is coming straight down that trail, and he goes to zigzag out of the lane. I grunt stop at 31. He's quartering 2. And I'm
pretty
gonna just
good and
I'm gonna take the brisket shot. I'm gonna shoot a frontal.
Yeah.
I've looked at a lot of different kill zone shots or whatever. Corey Jacobson is a dude who I have a ton of respect for. Good elk hunter, and takes frontals on elk all the time, and it's deadly, deadly, deadly. Mm-hmm. As long as you're confident in your abilities. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about a frontal is that if you're off a little bit, it's non-lethal at all. It just deflects off the shoulder, air's gone. He's got a scratch and he lives another day. So I'm gonna take a frontal. Anyways, let's get to the real story. I grunt stop. This deer, public land deer, is something I learned this year. I've been hunting public for a long time and learned this year. He goes from straight chilling to stomping, like 10 on the Richter scale. Something's up, and I just go, just a normal grunt stop. Nothing crazy. I didn't blow his head off, I don't think. What do you think?
No,
the volume wasn't bad, huh?
No, I've sat there and watched many a hunting show where it literally like peaks their mic when they grunt stop them. It's like distorted, mm-hmm. And it was just normal.
And it was fairly windy too. It wasn't.
That too, yeah.
It was probably 12, 15 out of the north,
easy.
And this deer just red alert, and he's like got his. He's quartering 2, facing left. So he's got his left leg up, fixing a stomp. I center my 30. He's at 31.
Dude, and I'm talking, I've watched the footage. So I shot the footage in 120 frames per second, so it's like super slow-mo. And I've watched the footage several times since we watched it.
Uh-huh.
And
Me too.
I've literally put my mouse where the arrow ended up and then run it back, and you were aiming low.
Yeah. Yeah.
low.
I mean, bottom third probably. Don't you think? Like
I'm
right at that
thinking
bottom
like
third line?
almost on the line of the brisket.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like 2-3 inches
Heart
up
shot.
from the bottom of his brisket.
Yeah. And I center my pin, don't take too much time, release. I'm shooting a Matthews bow. It's pretty quick, but it's super quiet.
It is really quiet.
It's really quiet.
Yep.
And I mean, I've had the guys at the bow shop. They shoot my bow after like they put a string on it or something. I'm like, dude, that's a quiet bow.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
Oh, it
you
is.
know, like
I
it's
shoot a
not
Matthews too.
Yeah.
And relatively quiet, but yours is much quieter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this deer between that in that 31-yard span ducks like at least 14 inches.
14 inches,
And
I would think. 12 to 14
12 to
inches.
14.
Easy 12, no doubt.
Yeah. And we'll put the footage up later. It might be a
We're
long
gonna-
film story or
we're
something.
gonna make a little story out of it,
Yeah.
film story, because it's worth watching, and it'll be a quick one. But
Yeah.
you'll be able to see it for sure.
It's Heartbreak City. And,
It is.
Okay, so
He's a good deer too.
So if
public
you
land.
can probably tell that this deer string dumped me. You know, that's what happened. Ducked 12 to 14 inches. Still, I was unlucky enough, even though I was blessed with the encounter, unlucky enough that my arrow perfectly hit in that little V of neck and back to where like the lowest part on that
part,
deer's body
yeah.
is where my arrow went and shaved him. I mean,
There's hair in the
yeah,
broadhead.
hair in the broadhead, hair on the ground. You know, by no means at all lethal. Like there wasn't even any blood. Like it's
No.
just just straight up
shave.
old school shave. You
Yeah.
know, just and razor shaved. And the best and worst part about it is, as a lot of you probably know, if you've ever spooked a deer, they look the biggest from behind. You know, with that big, both beams going out, and you can see the full height of the rack.
G2s.
Yeah, G2's just up there, and this deer just pans out and just runs off into oblivion. And we have yet
And
to
I
see
didn't
him.
even get good footage of him leaving because I was so shook up. It was like I was shaking for 15 minutes after, and I wasn't even shooting. And like I've never done that. I've filmed a couple of deer, and like other than a self film, like I've never like shaken that hard while filming a deer. I was so like, it's public land. It's happening right now. We're about to do it. You know,
it was cool.
and it's gonna be on film. You know, and I was definitely shaking, but I was disappointed. Casey actually took it really well for the whole evening for sure, and kind of hit you, I think, like second to last day of the season.
Yeah,
us,
I
or
had that
third to
big.
last day or whatever.
So that happened, and that night, that was like, okay, there's still 2.5 weeks left in season in Texas. Like, okay, so other parts of the country, like, if you miss November, you've missed it. In Texas, December is kind of like that's kind of the glory days.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
like,
we sat there. You were kind of alluding to this earlier, but like the rut in Texas is not super defined. At least where we're hunting northeast Texas, like it's not super defined. No doubt, there was a lot of action beginning in November when you first saw the deer in the scouting session, and then Thanksgiving area. You know, there was that whole couple 3 weeks or whatever. There was definitely a lot of movement and on the cameras and stuff. But like, I mean, what day was it that we had 2 deer come in and they squared up on each other? Just
that was
cruising.
after Christmas.
Yeah.
That was
just
like
cruising.
the 27th, I think, right?
They're cruising for does.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And one of them was a
all
mature
throughout
deer.
the
Well, I wouldn't say mature. We
3 or 4 years old?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
We passed him because there's bigger deer, older deer on the place, and I want to see what he turns
also
into.
found out he had a broke G3.
Yeah,
so
it
was a
broke
good
G3. It
pass.
made it a lot easier.
But yeah, so anyway, but that's one thing about like hunting in Texas, that you have that.
It's kind of a blessing and a curse because you don't have like that
trickle rut almost.
crazy, 2 weeks. But yeah, it's a trickle rut. So like for a month and a half, you
You
just
can find
never
deer cruising, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, on public land, I don't need them to be like breaking each other's tines off. I need them to cruise by me. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
At 40 yards or less, you know. And we had several encounters that way. I mean, and one of the cool thing about it is like we're hunting public land that we didn't pay any lease fees for. We just bought our public hunting permit for $48 or whatever it is, and we're hunting within a couple hours of home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, too, is that, okay, this is kind of getting us into, kind of what we want to talk about the future. Like, the cool thing about hunting public land in Texas doesn't have a ton of it, but what we do, we have a big state. There's a ton of options. You know, like we're talking about going to West Texas and doing some hunting next year. And, like, all you spend $48, for what's it like? I don't know how many acres it is. A
Lots.
lot of
Because
land.
Texas is a big state, and
Yeah.
a small percentage of that state is public, but that small percentage is still a lot of land.
And it's more than enough to keep me and you busy.
Right. It's not. I mean, it's not Montana by any means.
No,
But you
yeah.
know, it's got a lot of land to stay busy on. You know, I mean, and honestly, like putting in map work and stuff like that is more. You know, you should put in more hours on the maps than you should actually hunting. And once you do that, you end up kind of like we did. You know, like
Yeah.
we put in map study and have looked at that over several years, both of us. You know, and you especially more than me, and put in a little bit of scouting time one day. And next thing you know, we hang a trail camera, and yeah, we got lucky. But
Oh yeah, blind luck, but you got to be there to have
you
luck.
got to be there to have
Yeah.
luck. You know, and you got to try. So, you know, it's
What's that
not
saying? There's a
just
saying you like to say, like luck and something come together to make something. What is it?
preparation or luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah. If you've, I heard that from a really good coach of mine one time, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard that from different people too. But it made sense to me, man, for sure. I mean, more preparation you have, the more you tend to be that lucky guy that always shoots a good
Yeah.
deer, you know, or whatever. So
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of almost how December wrapped up for us. You know, me and Tyler kind of had a conjoined Decembers. He pretty much didn't go back to Kansas, so he was, you know, gracious enough to hunt with me in the stand and, you know, be my film guy. And next year it's going to change some. We're going to swap out film duties, but he's much more experienced than I am right now. Like I'm pretty good to find, you know, like the record button. You know, I'm pretty good at that. He told me
we're gonna do some learning on some fishing trips this spring and summer. So
he's going to learn me some knowledge on cameras. We went a couple more times, and the season really slowed down. Like we finally saw the slowdown in deer movement. You know, like we actually had a
After
late
Christmas,
season
basically.
after Christmas, like pretty much the last week of our season. Had a pretty big slowdown. The last two hunts we didn't see anything. We decided to try. We don't get a chance to do a lot of morning hunts because, you know, we both try to work. You know.
yeah, we try.
But
and it's a long ways.
It's tough. Yeah, long ways from home, and you know, you got family and stuff. You got to take care of, and you know, take care of your responsibilities first. But we get one morning hunt in. Ends up being our last hunt of the season. We go in, get there real early, have a cold front, but it's not cold. Okay, it's like 50. Which, you know, that was kind of one of the dampers of the end of the season, too, is we had a super Indian summer, which kind of stunk. You know, we didn't have that good, cold, wet weather. But
getting it this week and the season is over.
Yeah, I know. It's about to be just awesome this week, you know, and awesome for us is like low to mid 40s and high pressure. You know, like it's not like I heard guys, you know, in the Midwest talk about like that's hot temperatures, but here that's great.
Yeah,
you know?
like 30s and 40s.
Yeah,
Nice
I love
and cold.
it. And so anyways, we get there in the stand and we're all, you know, kind of chatty, but, you know, still quiet. And it's real windy that morning. And pretty much the way I ended my season, I'm thirsty. It's dark outside. I have water bottles in my backpack. I reach in my backpack for a water bottle, take a drink, swallow it, and then spew just... Oh, disgusting. I had urinated in a bottle 3 days before on a hunt because it was so quiet. We didn't want to spook deer, and there were deer in the area. And I didn't take my bottle out of my backpack. Tyler remembered to take his bottle out of his backpack, and he also didn't remind me to do mine. But it's not really his fault. It's my fault. I drank my own pee.
I was. It was literally in the. You know, we're in a parking lot, and I took mine out, so it wasn't much better. Like I just barely lucked out there.
Yeah.
Could have easily been me.
Yeah, and drank my own urine that morning. It was not enjoyable. It's not as bad as you think it would be.
Yep.
So in the survival situation, I could do it. I know that. I could learn something. You know, it's good.
A little bit of Bear Grylls in
Yeah, a little Bear Grylls. And the wind picked up even more after we had that escapade. And it was about to blow us out of the tree all morning, and it was getting hotter. It was like getting close to 60, and climbed down the tree at 9:30. Hadn't seen a deer all day. Yeah. And I saw a squirrel. Oh, yeah, we did have a coyote come through.
Couldn't get on them quick enough.
That's right.
They moved so quick through our shooting lane.
Shoo.
We had, and then we also, a few days before that, had one hunt that we kind of missed out on talking about. It's nothing special necessarily, but we had 3 coyotes come through and a group of like 30, 40 hogs within like 10 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
So we had We had two coyotes come through real quick, back to back, but they weren't like necessarily. Didn't almost seem like they were like running together. It was just like, I mean, they probably were.
Yeah, they're packed,
but they were just like real loose,
Mhm.
And then so we had those two come through, and then we saw hogs, and then this third coyote comes out, and like I don't know if he was like trying to get one of them babies or what, but it's acting real weird and sniffing around, not far from these hogs, like probably within 20 or 30 yards of some of these hogs at some point. But I mean, we didn't get on the first one. Never came within range. Second one, we let one go.
It was just crazy, just shot in the dark kind of
Hail Mary.
thing. Like it was out of my shooting lane. I kind of shot through some brush trying to get it. Didn't get him.
They're moving real
Yeah,
quick.
and then the third one got to stop at 40 yards pretty much,
yep.
and just absolutely smokes this coyote.
Shot low. We stopped. We decided to stop it.
Yeah,
like
and
we
it's
did
not a
the
grunt
deer.
stop with coyote. It's like a squeak stop.
Yeah, we did a squeak stop, and that sucker locked up. And I was like, when it was coming in, I was like, hey, let's stop it and just shoot low. And he squeaked it and just like literally heart shot.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally heart shot 40 yards and coyote. Like I felt like a champ. Like, and that was honestly, dude. Like I know it's just a coyote, and I know that it was not all my fault that I missed that deer, but that meant a lot to be able to put that shot on that coyote.
Give some confidence.
Yeah,
back.
it's a confidence boost for sure. And okay, so I have a background in predator control. Used to work for the state of Texas doing predator control, and so I'm pretty well versed on how bad coyotes can affect your livestock populations for sure, but also your wild game population. So, in my opinion, they have a place, but every coyote you get a chance at, it's worth taking a shot at and trying to do something to, do a little predator control. So got that one. And then like 3 minutes later, we had that satellite boar. So in case you don't know, hogs, their social structures are a lot like elk, except it is the rut all year long. So there's a big boar with this group of sows. There's probably like 12 adults and just absolute ton of piglets. And then there's a satellite boar that's a younger, less dominant boar, flanking the outside with them. The big group of pigs doesn't come within range. They're just barely out of range. And there's a giant boar that we're going to get after later this year. He's blonde, and he looks so cool.
Big old cutters.
Big cutters, yeah. Tyler's like, that's a big hog-bodied hog. That's what he said.
It's like, I couldn't think, dude.
Good adjectives, man. But the satellite boar comes like right in at, 20 yards. And I draw back on him. This is literally 3 minutes after I slock that coyote and shoot him, hit him high in the lungs, kind of spine. We don't really know what happened.
I thought it was spine right off the bat. Like you can hear me on video go Spine City.
Yeah, and knocked him down.
Just blew him back
on his butt.
And he rolls over on his back. I watched it today or last night.
Yeah.
And he rolls over and his legs just lock up like he's completely done for. And then all of a sudden, just like something sparks in him, and he rolls over, breaks the arrow off, takes off running.
Yeah.
We're like, what the heck?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, they're tough suckers. And it's funny because whenever I worked for the government, I shot a lot of pigs. Not bragging, it was just my job and it's what I did, And hogs are weird. Like one hog, you could like shoot him in the ear, just nick skin, and he dies. And then the next hog, you could like chop off 4 legs and he still runs 100 yards. Like, I mean, they're just from one to the other. There's so much personality to them. Some are fighters and some are just, they just give up. Yeah. And this hog must have just been a fighter, And I'm not going to say like we were like big bag hog slayers because we're standing in a tree stand. I mean, it's not like it's like super cool. We shot a pig, but I mean, there's way too many of them suckers too.
Yeah, they are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
We hadn't hardly gone into the woods to hang a trail camera without busting some hogs.
No, I mean it's like, I'm not a person who's scared of pigs, and Tyler really isn't either, but, like, in the dark,
it's a little hairy.
It's a little hairy sometimes, and it's not really the boars you're scared of, it's themselves that you're going to bother their piglets or whatever, and they go to chopping jaws and making big grunting noises like, all right, well, I need a brighter flashlight.
Yeah, exactly.
But
because we are 10 yards and I can't see them.
That's right. That's the problem with black hog at night. You can't even, like, if you put your light on them. And okay, so I noticed this too. This is kind of a little side note, but modern day LEDs are awesome. But that bluer light LED makes it a lot harder to see a pig at night. than like the old yellow light, and it's kind of weird. But
Yeah.
man, an old school mag light, the big 8 battery sucker
Yeah.
that weigh 5 pounds, man, you can see hogs no problem. But
Yeah.
with the that white blue light the LEDs produce, it makes it really tough to see.
Huh.
But
yeah, makes sense.
Kind of neat.
Yeah, they're hard to see. Like and they don't see that well. And if there's some wind at night when you're walking out or whatever, I mean you can get up on them quick.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get right up on them before anybody busts.
Oh, that's
each
the
other,
thing.
you know?
Like, okay, so pigs are a lot different than deer. Deer have like a heightened sense on every sense of their body. Like from everything from sight, hearing, smell. They even have that. What's that gland in between their cloven part of their hooves? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know.
That they can feel vibrations in the ground through that. So even a deer's sense of touch is geared to sense predators.
Yeah.
Hogs are super smart, blind as bats, can't hear well, but have just the best nose you'll ever. I mean, just it's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
anything.
But so you can just if you're standing still and it's not super bright outside and you've got dark clothing on, I mean, you can just hogs will walk around, within reason, within 30 or 40 yards of you and not even paying no mind. But, if you're 200 yards away and he gets one scent particle of you, they're gone,
Right. Yep.
So, that's the thing walking out at night. Like if the wind's right, you can walk right up on the suckers because they're used to noise. They're noisy suckers.
There's 30 or 40 of them making noise right around.
Yeah,
each other,
exactly.
Squealing and grunting and digging in the grass and everything else. So.
Yeah. So pretty much that's going to end December for us, which ends our season for the most part. I still have another deer hunt to go on in the hill country, which is just a population control hunt for
MLD style.
Yeah. It's lamps, permits, or excuse me, whatever. I've got a buddy who's been blessed with a large tract of family land, and he's shares the wealth and lets all of us friends go down there and shoot some deer for meat, and it helps him out with the population control, and it's good to get away with the guys, and so I got that coming up, but that's not not to discredit that harvest because it's great, but as far as our buck hunting is over for the year, so then that's going to kind of wrap up our 2016 hunting season, right. I suppose.
We've got some hunting left to do that we won't go into too much detail about right now.
Yeah.
But we've got a really cool film idea that we're gonna try to come up with, and we kind of came up with it by accident almost because we were going to hang a trail camera on a piece of public that we were looking at, and we took the recurve. KC took the recurve just in case we saw hogs, because we pretty much see hogs every time we go in the woods here. And so we kind of got up on some or whatever. And anyway, like just what happened next, we won't say anything too much, but it's going to be pretty cool.
Look forward to the spring.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
So we're looking at doing that later this month. And I guess this is a good segue to kind of go into our plans for 2017 before we get too long-winded.
For sure. Well, I mean,
we were kind of already there.
Yeah, that's what we do.
We're 90 minutes in.
Golly, Wally. Sorry, guys.
No,
I promise it's worth it.
Yeah.
So 2017 is looking up for us, man. I'm excited. Like, this is the most excited I've ever been to end a hunting season, as weird as that sounds. And, I had a lot of success with the elk hunt, but as far as whitetail go, it was a bittersweet season. So, but it's pretty cool because I'm looking so forward to 2017, and this, for me at least, is going to be probably the first year that the whole year of 2017 is a deer season for me. I mean, what do you think? Are you looking forward to it as much as I am? Is it different for you, or like what's making this year different?
Okay, so I'm the same way. Like I'm like as happy as I could be to end the season, honestly. And I didn't shoot a buck this year, and didn't shoot an elk or anything. I mean, I shot a doe. That was it. And that's I think the main reason that I'm really excited about 2017 is because okay, so my wife, she's just fine. She shot some ducks, and she shot we went to her grandparents' place and shot a buck with a rifle one time with her. That was cool. Got to see her shoot her first deer and stuff. And she'll go out and hunt and stuff. She's not scared of it. She likes having the wild game meat and stuff like that. But she's not gonna go out there and sit and freeze her butt off and be bored for 3 hours in the morning and then 3 hours in the afternoon. You know, like, not gonna do it. She just doesn't want to do that. She's not gonna go out there and fish and be bored. She will read a book. If the fish are biting, she'll cast the line. But if they're not, she'll read a book and eventually probably ready to go in. You know, so like what I'm saying is, I've got several friends that like to hunt and stuff like that, but none of them are really none of them are fly fishermen. B, none of them are like super jacked up about bow hunting deer except for one, but he's got a ton of good places that I can't get on.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, I just don't like with you. I'm excited because basically, like, I know that you're going to want to go walk in 2 miles on public land and hang a trail camera somewhere, whether it be Texas or Iowa or Oklahoma or whatever. Like, we're going to go, we would do that, and you'll be excited to do it. With my other buddies, like, they're a little more private land, and that's a whole game of its own, like trying to find access and stuff. And I've tried it, and it is tough, man,
Yeah.
especially in Texas. But you know, and that's a good reason to start trying to figure out public, you know, for me. And so I'm excited about that. Like, I'm excited that you and I can plan trips and like to do the same things and go do them because, I mean, honestly, like, I would probably drive to Colorado and hunt elk by myself once or twice in my lifetime, but it's not about like just going up there and like defeating the elk and killing that sucker.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Like, it's about like enjoying time with family and friends on trips, man. Like those times in camp when you laughed your head off or you ate the best chips and salsa you've ever had, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's about, dude. I mean, and it's about seeing those deer do what they do and stuff like that or whatever. It's and then obviously, I mean, I don't just go to do that. I go to kill them too, you know? I mean, to harvest that deer and to put food on the table and stuff. But like, what I'm saying is, like, all these trips that we have planned,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing many of them if I didn't have somebody to go with me. So that's what I'm
That's
excited
cool, dude.
about, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't really tell you what trip I'm most excited about, though. But
Dude, it's tough.
we can go ahead and start laying these out
Yeah.
for the
So
listener.
Yeah. So for me, I'm almost more excited to go on the ones you're going to hunt than I am that I'm going to hunt. It's kind of weird. And I don't know. I think it's because it's the new, like, exploration aspect of things. You know what I mean? It's just a new place for me. And I just ready to go, like, absorb new stuff. I'm like a sponge.
Like, this is the truth, guys. Like, he is literally, there's a hunt that I'm thinking I might draw a tag for this year that he has, like, done way more research than me on it.
I'm really worried about stealing Tyler's thunder on this thing, but I'm so jacked about it. And what's cool is that me and Tyler are both excitable guys, and we both have a lot of ideas. So one of us has an idea, the other guy gets excited, and then I get excited. You know, or vice versa. So we just we're just running around excited all the time.
Dude.
That's it.
I've literally tweeted that before, dude.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Like, people need to get more excited about things.
Oh
dude.
Man, I know it.
It makes people excited.
Exactly. Like, you were excited about killing that doe this year. You know, like, that's something to be excited about. You just made a harvest. You know, like,
no,
it's primal.
But
okay, so what we've got coming up? So we got a lot of fishing trips coming up too. So you know, look forward to some media on that too. If you want to check out the Hydro podcast, that Instagram page and stuff, we're gonna have another podcast going too with fishing stuff. But we'll mention it here, but we won't really get into that too much. You know, this is kind of more the hunting centric and specifically whitetail centric stuff we're gonna do here. So. What's our first hunting trip on the agenda?
Well, we're gonna do some stuff locally in January and February, I believe, and then let's see, we're thinking about doing a scouting trip to the Midwest in March or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I don't really know what is our first hunting trip. You got the calendar over there.
Okay, so like
Got a lot of fishing trips spring and summer,
a lot
obviously.
of fishing trips in spring. Spring is for us is fishing season for sure.
And we're gonna do some scouting too. We're trying to like do some scouting on the public stuff before it gets too before they lose their horns and B before there's too you start to lose the grass grows over the trails and the scrapes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're gonna get in there for that old rut sign, that old buck sign, and you know that was left over from the fall, and try to see that.
Yeah. And then also we're making a fly fishing trip up to Colorado this year, I think. So
that's
we're
fly
gonna,
fishing, aka scouting,
aka elk scout.
Yeah.
You know, so I actually have done some research and not too much good talk about that unit
Oh
online.
yeah.
So
Well,
they say it's like one of the most overcrowded in the whole state.
well,
But, you know,
where'd I shoot my elk this year?
pretty overcrowded.
Pretty
unit.
overcrowded unit,
Yeah.
like the most overhunted unit in the state, supposedly. You know, well, I guess those are tied. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's not all about that. It's you know, it's more about getting in those little nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
But, so we talked about. I mean, there's maybe a chance that spring turkey's on our agenda, but just with all we got going on, it's pretty tough to fit it in. I mean, you love to turkey hunt. I haven't done a ton of it. I've done a lot of turkey shooting, but turkey hunting's a little different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. The
And
spring stuff's fun, man, but I hadn't done it in a few years either.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, it's hard when you got such good fishing that time of year, you know.
exactly, man. It's just like you got so many passions. You know, what are you gonna do, right?
I know, you got to pick and choose.
So really, I mean, our first official hunting trip is Western trip for elk, and we got a couple options here. Like we can go to this place that me and my family have always gone, and it's my comfort zone. And I love it, and I know how to kill elk there. You know, case proven this last year, and I have encounters every time we go. But there's a whole new world out there. There's many, many more units in Colorado, and then you have brought to light all these things like New Mexico and the possibility of drawing Arizona, you know, one day and stuff like this. And I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like I just got this little 10,000 acres figured out. You want to go to different states, you know?
Yeah.
So like,
It would be tough if you started to figure something out, you know, to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But the Arizona thing is going to be kind of a dream hunt for me that I'm trying to save up lots of points for and eventually draw one of the, you know, top 5 units for bow in that state. And then New Mexico is a no point system, so I always put in for that because, I mean, we can get into elk country in 12 hours there from where we're at. And so, and I've been on a hunt there, and I obviously, you know, you go hunting, you should figure something out. So I figured a few things out, but I didn't have any luck. But, you know, that's one of those places that we definitely put in for, you know, should put in for here. It's hard to front the feast sometimes, but like it's so close. It's just, you know, it's a half a day of drive, you know, literally a half of a full day of driving closer than like say Wyoming or Montana, you know. So that's one place, and I definitely want to start getting my feet wet with the DIY stuff in Colorado, and but yeah, so you know, depending on what we draw, I probably won't draw the Arizona, even though I'll put in for it because I'll put in for really high units. So, but might draw New Mexico, and if I don't, we're going to be in Colorado next year in September, and that's going to be the beginning of it, I imagine.
yeah, that's going to be sweet. And, you know, even if you do draw New Mexico, I'll probably end up in September in Colorado anyways, because I'm not going to draw, and I still want to go, you know, have opportunity to make a harvest. And for me, killing elk is just as much about the meat as it is the horns, because like me and my wife are living pretty much on elk meat right now, and it's great. It is absolutely delicious. We're going to cook some here in a little bit for supper.
It's been paid for.
It's been paid for already. It's not free, but like I don't have to spend any money on beef or chicken or any of that stuff at the grocery store, and it's all organic, all pure, all delicious and lean.
Right.
You know.
Yep. It's
fuel.
good for sure. I've had some of it.
Yeah, we're gonna have more.
Yeah.
But so you know, I'll probably do a couple things in September. You know, like if you draw New Mexico, I'll probably go with my parents up to Colorado and just I might not even come home and see Cassie. Who knows? I might just you know, just go straight to New Mexico.
Yeah.
So see you later, babe. I'll see you in October.
She's giving you the evil eye.
But so yeah, that's September for us, and then October. That's whitetail time, man.
We're looking at probably some local stuff. Starting to get ready. Local. When I say local, that means Texas.
Yeah.
You know, within a few hours here of home, I think, and then possibly a kind of different deal out
something
west.
a little different. So Texas, we're blessed with a big state.
Yeah.
And in that, there's lots of different terrains. You know, so like we don't have just big woods or just hill country or just arid. We got all of them.
Yeah.
And me and Tyler have been looking at this, you know, possibility of maybe putting in for like a draw unit or something, you know, a little bit, and some of the Texas stuff, or maybe even trying to get a mule deer, you know,
try
like
to do a mule deer deal.
you know, one of the dreams is just to kill a Texas muley, and It's not a trophy hunt by any means. It's just to go out there and get it done. And it's so cool. Like, I just like the idea of going and doing a Western style hunt in our own state.
Right. And not
the
having to
part,
pay $300-$600.
It's the $48 for the public land permit, like we've been talking, and you can go out there and do a Western style hunt.
Yeah.
So we might try to do at least one of those in October, maybe two. And, it's kind of budget depending. Mm-hmm. And then besides that,
be deer. And then November is going to be deer. And they say that I should put in for, I should burn my like 5 points in Colorado for deer next year. I don't know for sure if I'm going to do that, but if I do, there might be that squeezed in there somewhere. I don't know how I would squeeze that in, but
we make it happen. If you draw a tag, we're going to make it happen. Like, don't worry about that.
Yeah, I hope so. So it'll be. I guess that's kind of the extent of the hunting stuff. Is that right? Is there anything in? I mean, December deer hunting.
You got any other out of state deer stuff or anything?
Well, I'll be going October. I'll going back to British Columbia again.
Okay, yeah.
And that's not really to hunt. It's to. But the cool thing about that that I didn't really speak on earlier was that, like, even though I'm going to film that hunt, I'm literally doing the hunt. I am on that hunt and doing it just like I would be. The only difference is that I'm not pulling the trigger on that, $20,000 to $40,000 sheep or whatever, so, it's not costing me that, but I get to do that hunt, and it's an unbelievable experience.
So tell me this. Okay, so say being the hunter and killing a stone sheep is a 100, okay? What is being what you are?
Man.
On a scale from 0 to 100,
I don't know. I mean, like, for me, sheep is that top tier.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I wanted. That's like the goal. And as much as I'd love to shoot a Grand Slam, I look at it now and the way the prices are moving on them, there's no way I'll probably ever have the money to go do all 4 sheep hunts. But I would love to do one sheep hunt, just one, man. At some point, just be able to start saving here and there and put $100 here back and, 200 there and 500 there. And eventually, before I get too old to start moving around, up them down the mountains, just go on a sheep hunt. So that's the top tier. So like, I definitely have that perspective of like what I think that would be to shoot that sheep and to like feel like, man, I did it, and I want to do it with a bow too. You know, so I can't really, I haven't done it, so I can't tell you like the excitement that I would have and the feeling of accomplishment and everything else. But I can speak to being the guy that's doing everything but pulling the trigger, and it is so awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I'd even rank it, but like it's got to be in the 80s at least. I mean, what I'm saying, out of 100. Cool. I mean, it's just like it is. It's 100 on the scale of experiences. Like if you were talking about some experience that you're going to go on, a life experience, a trip, it is 110, man, on that sucker. You know. The only thing that you're not doing is pulling the trigger. And like I said earlier, it's not all about pulling the trigger, you know. I mean, it's about spending time on the beach telling stories about grizzlies, Yeah. I mean, stuff like that. Eating Mountain House. It tastes either really good some days or really bad some days, depending on what you're eating.
Oh, man.
So, anyway.
That's cool.
But I guess we can go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. We have gone pretty good while. And I don't think every one of them is going to be this long, but this is kind of the initial blast of what's been going on, what's happening right now, being that we're podcasting and we're going to start doing this, and then the future for us, and kind of give you a little layout of what we plan to do. Maybe we might even finish up with, like, next time we talk, maybe we start out with just like, what are we going to like improve on from this year? Maybe start on that.
What we learn,
tell a little bit of that next
like that.
time or whatever. Yeah, what'd you learn? What do you want to improve on? Maybe do a little something like that, and then go into the beef of that next episode. So I don't know, but we definitely will do another one of these soon. We're going to try to get this up and live to you guys ASAP. And I'm sure if you're listening to it, that it is live, and so that doesn't matter to you. But yeah, I guess the last few things that I would say is that if you don't have an hour and 45 minutes to burn out of your life to listen to this podcast, don't worry, because the next one won't be that long. And if there is another one that's an hour and 45 minutes, we hope to have a guest with a lot of really good info on tactics and stuff like that for you to hear and listen to make it worth your hour 45. And we hope to keep them a little bit shorter in the future. And we just wanted to make sure that we got everything covered this time. So definitely, if you kind of like what you're hearing, and you're like, man, it is a little bit long, but it's pretty good stuff, go to iTunes, give us a review, and let us know what maybe we could change, what you like about it too, and spread some positive remarks there, and we'll very much appreciate those vibes, and we'll try to reflect that in our podcast. So a review would be much appreciated and help us get the word out. Once again, thanks to Sick Gear for just believing in what we're doing and what we believe in. And just also for their support in conservation and stuff like that as well. There's a lot of big companies that do that too that we won't go into right now, but Sitka has definitely believed in us. So thank you guys there at Sitka. And make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're going to start trying to keep up with the Facebook as soon as we get some of these podcasts live. And then we're going to also start to develop our YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that and expect to see some cool content. It's from cooking to slow motion hair scraping shots of deer to maybe a coyote or two here and there or whatever. So
KC crying in the background after he misses things.
Yeah, and maybe a little pee drinking as well. So you'll get all of that, and we're going to try to put really, really nice content on there and not bombard you with a bunch of subpar stuff. We're going to try to make a really good YouTube channel there. So yeah, check it out. Subscribe to it. Like us on Facebook. Go to Instagram. I think it's you could just search the Element Podcast or the Hydro Podcast and find lots of really cool pictures and pretty pictures of landscapes and wild trout and stuff like that. So we're going to try to get the Hydro up as soon as we get to fishing and catching. And we're definitely going to look forward to communicating with the audience here and with each other and just trying to spread knowledge and conservation, and hope that we can continue this great sport of just being outdoors and hunting and fishing and enjoying each other's company. So thank you guys. Love you guys. And we hope to see you back here really soon, maybe once a week. So from me and KC, man, we'll see you later. Peace.